3 years ago, there is a huge battle going on the island, but all the Japanese defense forces could do is stand and watch. Their weapons are useless here. It's all in the hands of the hunters. The hunters consist of knights and mages. At that point, they are stormed by giant red ants, and they are the last line of defense, and they have to defend it with their lives. Unfortunately, the ants prove too big of a challenge, and their fire magic is ineffective against them, so they quickly become overwhelmed. Their opponent is too strong for them. Just as they believe it's over, help arrives. Cleric casts healing magic, instantly recovering the wounded soldier's wounds. The cleric is being jumped, but the newly arrived party is on a whole different level. They are the S-rank hunters. The fighter and lightning mage deal with the red spiders easily, but the battle isn't over. It doesn't seem like the boss, but the white ant must be the leader of smaller ants. While the healer deals with the wounded, the fighter goes toe-to-toe with the white ant fighter, tears off ant's antlers, but is pushed back. He takes this opportunity to throw one of the antlers, decimating the ant. But it turns out that the white ant isn't even the leader, but one of many soldiers. Releasing his stored power, the fighter is ready to take them on. Same goes for the mage. Meanwhile, on the front line, they are being stormed by more ants. The fire mage casts his magic, decimating the red ones, and the rest of the soldiers are ordered to attack the rest. More than 10 years ago, portals that could connect to different dimensions suddenly appeared in the world, and various monsters and beasts reside within them. Conventional weapons can't fight them, only those with awakened special abilities can. They are called hunters. Based on their magical powers, hunters are classified as ones of sapped rank. However, when awakened, no matter how hard they try, their abilities will no longer be developed. 3 years later, present day. As everyone goes about their day, being a hunter at this point is considered a normal job in society. Everyone is readying up to go for another hunt. One of the few is Kim and Park, who recently just returned back to being a hunter after a hiatus. They discuss making a lot of money if the next raid will be successful. That's when Jinwoo arrives. He is somewhat famous among the hunters, but not for the reasons you think. He is a lowly hunter with the nickname the weakest hunter of all mankind. He is so weak that he was injured in an E-rank dungeon and hospitalized. So Kim assumes that calling the kid here means the mission will be a breeze. Jinwoo heard all of that, but agrees that he's the lowest of them all. Juhee, his charming partner in raids, scolds him for being injured again. She wants to know what happened, and he shamefully admits that he was the only one injured in the E-rank dungeon. He is just too weak and she already knows it. The mission is about to start and their leader will be Song, the highest-ranked hunter from the party. The gates open and they start to walk in. Kim tells the weakling to stay close so he doesn't get hurt. The only weapon Jinwoo has is a small knife with little magic power. It's all his insignificant income can allow. He must perform today to get even a little of the spoils. Jinwoo is ecstatic, finally obtaining his first crystal, but is suddenly attacked with his knife cracking when he deflects. When he sees an opportunity to attack, the knife shatters and the goblin gravely injures him. Luckily, Park was nearby and deals with the goblin. As Jinwoo is laying on the ground, Juhee rushes to heal him. The loser can only watch as the rest of the party breezes through the low-tier monsters with ease before losing consciousness. The magic crystals hunters obtain from the monsters are sold to the Hunters Association. Acting as the guild, the crystals can be made into more powerful weapons to defeat stronger magic beasts. The mana crystals harvested from the dungeon can also be weapons, but their effects are not as good as those of magic gems, but the government wants to use them as a new source of energy. Safer than nuclear and more efficient than any hydro, wind or geothermal power with no pollution, it's the ideal green energy. That's why the hunters are important in obtaining this energy back at the dungeon. The party successfully defeated the dungeon boss, while Jinwoo is just sitting on the floor still being healed. Juhee wants to know why a loser like him became a hunter. He is good for nothing. While everyone has their hands full of high-rank spoils, Jinwoo is disappointed that he only got AE-rank magic gem, something not worth risking his life for. Suddenly someone calls everyone over. He found an additional cave to explore, something called a double dungeon. Usually when hunters defeat the final boss, the dungeon closes. But this one isn't, so it's worth exploring. Everyone is giddy for more loot. Song notes that usually in these kinds of situations they should report to the guild, meaning giving up the dungeon to someone else. Everyone is eager to keep exploring. It's just a D-rank dungeon anyway. Hearing the complaints, Song decides to give it a vote. There are 6 people who support it and 6 against it. Jinwoo is the deciding vote. He understands how dangerous the drink dungeon is for him, but with his father missing, he is the only one in the family who can earn money. His mother has medical bills, and sister has to go to college. He needs money. Jinwoo wants to continue. Did he forget he doesn't have a weapon? Meanwhile at the guild, they have technology that assesses people's talent and rank. With a dozen agents hiring for their own association, everyone is trying to get the highest rank hunters that would net them better profits in the future. S-rank hunters are not only strong, but if someone recognizes them in public, they are like idols. Like in this situation, Cha Hai is an S rank, preventing a robbery and quickly being swarmed by people, although she doesn't have a problem getting away. Back at the cave, the hunters have been walking the cave for about 40 minutes now. Jinwoo apologizes to Juhee. Despite her not wanting to go into the cave, he basically forced her to. She doesn't care for his apology, angry that he is such a loser that doesn't value his life. He is alive right now, only thanks to her B-rank healer. He can apologize to her over dinner. Catching him off guard, they finally arrived. It's the boss's room. It's rare to see rooms with doors like this. They will advance for now and retreat together if something doesn't seem right. Meanwhile, at the guild, a pre-recorded message of Go Gun-hee, the president, explains that being a hunter is a life-threatening profession with many things still unknown about the dungeons. You can never let your guard down. If they want to survive, they have to be cautious. Song's party opens the gate and the room lights up. This is a kind of room that no one has ever seen before, filled with statues and an eerie atmosphere with one particularly large statue sitting on a throne. The odd thing is that there are no monsters around. Not a single one. Song notices a magic circle on the ground and they find a tablet with the ancient language. Song starts to read it, while with a terrified look, Juhee grabs Jinwoo, saying that the large statue's eyes moved. It was looking at them just a moment ago. Suddenly, the huge doors close. Everyone is terrified of not knowing what is going on. Desperate to get out, one of the party members walks to the door, only to get slashed in half by the statue. Their worst nightmare has come to life. All of the statues are monsters. The situation slowly sinks as Jinwoo understands that he is about to die when an adventurer much stronger than him gets killed in an instant. He doesn't understand why such terrifying creatures would be in a D-rank dungeon. Remembering Juhee's words from before, Jinwoo slowly turns around. With a terror-struck look in his eyes, he glances at the statue and it glances back. This is the end. Jinwoo has been in many life-and-death situations. Separated from the team, he got injured by an E-rank monster and hospitalized, almost starved when he was trapped in a maze. To get a better weapon, he has to collect loot, but he can't do that if he doesn't kill monsters. He endures the ridicule of others and does this dangerous job that doesn't earn much. In order to survive, he has to constantly look for loopholes and observe. Maybe that's why he knows. Suddenly yelling for everyone to get down as the large statue fires a fire beam, decimating everything in its path. No one knows what to do. They are trapped. With no way out, all of them will be killed. How powerful is the latest chapter solo leveling? As the weakest hunter, Jinwoo faced several statues of gods alone. Although his body was tortured and bruised by the statues in the next second, his high-spirited and immortal will still show the gods what the courage of the weak means. As a reward for being brave, Jinwoo finally got the opportunity to become a strong man. Just now, the tall statue suddenly opened his eyes and the laser he fired instantly killed and injured more than half of the Jinwoo team. This cruel scene undoubtedly made all the survivors on the field weak in fear. At this moment, a man was suddenly struck down by the depressing atmosphere. As a wind hunter, his proud speed has allowed him to escape from critical moments several times, and he believes that this time will be no exception. The man's death undoubtedly made him Jinwoo more confused. Obviously, this statue has the ability to kill all of them at any time, but why hasn't he done anything yet? Recall the 3 commandments on the previous stone tablet: worship God, praise God, and prove your faith. At this moment, Jinwoo seemed to realize something, and then he slowly stood up and looked directly at the stone statue. At this moment, light appeared in the eyes of the stone statue again, and Jinwoo immediately bowed 90 degrees. Unexpectedly, in the next second, the stone statue actually lost its movement. Seeing this scene, Jinwoo shouted for everyone to kneel down to the statue. It turns out that there is his own rule in this dungeon. As long as their heads are lower than a certain height, the statues will not attack. This may be the meaning of worshipping God. Although they didn't quite understand, everyone still obeyed Jinwoo's words obediently. At this moment, the stone statue reacted again. As the stone statue changed its expression, everyone once again had the right to stand up. However, before they could be happy for a while, the statue suddenly made another move, and he actually stood up from the throne. This strange scene is obviously telling everyone that the trial is still not over at this moment, and the clue should be the commandment to praise God. Hearing this, a man suddenly came out. He said that he was a researcher of traditional literature and that he knew what words of praise to God were. Then the man knelt on the ground and began to pray devoutly. Seeing this scene, the statue actually stopped, and what followed was still the familiar mocking expression. In the next second, the man was severely trampled under his feet. This scene was so frightening that everyone fled in all directions. At this moment, Jinwoo's brain began to work rapidly. What exactly does the so-called praising God mean? While thinking, Jinwoo suddenly discovered that some of the stone statues were holding musical instruments, so he quickly told his companions about this discovery. At this point, the Jinwoo team only has a few people left. However, since the stone musical instrument statue can only protect one person, Jinwoo can only let Juhee stay where he is while he quickly runs to another stone statue and rushes up. As the musical instrument statue began to sing loudly, Jinwoo finally saved his life at the last second, but he was also in the process of escaping from death just now, but he also lost a leg. Although Jihi tried his best to healing Jinwoo, but his already overstretched body simply could not hold on. Seeing this scene, the few remaining people could only remain silent. At this moment, there was another move on the side of the statue. He summoned an altar in the middle of the field, which was obviously prepared for the third commandment. Thinking of this sentence, prove your faith, everyone invariably thought of the word sacrifice. The next second, Kim suddenly drew his sword and pointed it at Chi-yeol. He believed that Chi-yeol, as the captain of the team, was naturally responsible for this incident. Chi-yeol was not angry at this, he just walked to the altar silently. Unexpectedly, except for a flame coming out next to the altar, nothing else happened. So Jinwoo immediately asked everyone to go to the altar. Sure enough, flames corresponding to the number of people appeared next to them in the next second, but followed by a circle of blue fire, and this scene seemed to trigger some mechanism, and the originally closed door opened again. At the same time, all the surrounding stone statues started to move and began to walk towards the altar step by step, feeling the suffocation of impending death. At this time, Jinwoo asked everyone not to close their eyes. As long as their eyes did not leave the stone statue would not move. However, Jinwoo really overestimated the psychological endurance of human beings. Under the terrifying gaze of the stone statue, a woman was the first to run away, unable to bear the pressure. Seeing him leave here safe and sound, Jinwoo was instantly confused. Since this commandment is to prove their faith, it stands to reason that the door must be a trap, but what happened to the woman who escaped? Without any time to think, Dong-sik saw the hope of escape and he ran away, leaving the Jinwoo behind. Seeing that other people were also moving, Jinwoo shouted not to move. If anyone left again, there would be a blind spot in the line of sight. As long as the current situation was maintained, everyone should be able to escape the moment the blue flame disappeared. However, this is just speculation. When he thinks that the other result is that the gate of time will be closed, the Kim who does not want to die can only bear the pain and abandon his teammates. So far, there are only 3 people left here. Looking at the stone statue door that was gradually approaching, Chi-yeol asked Jinwoo to leave first. As long as he stayed, the door would not be closed. But at this time, Jihi's body was unable to move at all due to the overdraft just now. Seeing this scene, Jinwoo, who had lost a leg, knew that there was no time to hesitate. He asked Chi-yeol to take Jihi away first. Then he handed Jihi a magic stone, which was the meal money he promised the girl. If he was still alive later, he would naturally go to Jihi to get the remaining money back. Seeing that the girl still wanted to speak, but Chi-yeol knocked him out with a blow from his hand. As the 2 figures gradually disappeared into the door, Jinwoo finally closed his eyes in despair. However, even in the face of such a certain death situation, he did not want to give up resistance just like that. At least he would have someone to support him before he died. However, Jinwoo is so weak that he can't even defeat goblins, so how can he be the opponent of the stone statue? As Jinwoo landed heavily on the altar, the stone statue slowly raised the sword in his hand. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this.